Dzień dobry. Dzisiaj moja córka Oliwia ma dla wszystkich pokazać, jak moja mama Celina i ja przyjechali do Australii, żeby lepsze życie mieć.
My mother, Bezina Gawad, was born on the 17th of July in 1964 in Moscow, Poland, located just near the Russian border. Her first few years growing up was on a remote farm with her mother and my grandmother, Selina. The two of them lived alone in a small cottage next to my grandmother's grandparents. My grandmother decided she wanted to make the move to Australia in hope to find an improved quality of life, explore more opportunities, and most importantly, escape communism.
Because Poland was still communist then, they moved, basically we moved for a better life. My mum thought she could earn more money, I'd have a better education, nicer place to live, compared to where I grew up. There was not much opportunity there.
The move seemed easier for the two as they had relatives including my mother's auntie and uncle. Auntie Jessie raved to my grandmother continuously about the endless opportunities Australia had to offer. At the end of World War II, hundreds of thousands of displaced people from Eastern Europe needed somewhere to go and many chose to migrate to Australia. The second wave of post-war immigration arrived in Australia in the 1950s and the 1960s and consisted of those seeking employment and better living conditions. My mother and grandmother's move was made possible with the Family Reunion Program, an immigration program that offered assistance and representation for financially disadvantaged and vulnerable people seeking asylum in Australia. They started their one-month journey where they boarded the Fair Seas ship that took many European immigrants from 1949 to 1969. The ship served as an aircraft carrier and troop ship during World War II. The Fair Sea was built for migration service in 1949. However, at the time, the ship's accommodation initially left much to be desired. After arriving in Melbourne, my mother Bezina and grandmother Selina moved into Essendon with their auntie Jessie. My mother started primary school at the age of 4, where she attended and lived at Resurrection House Primary School. Resurrection House, as it was called, was opened by the sisters on June 29, 1952, and was established as a boarding home for children of Polish refugees. The school's mission was to help the needs of orphan children who, as a result of the events of World War II, found themselves in difficult circumstances in a foreign land.
The girls used to sleep upstairs at the old Resurrection House. It was just like one big dorm, and all along one wall were just heaps and heaps of beds, and you had a bed and a little bedside table, and the boys slept in a different area downstairs. I didn't speak any English when I came to the school, so I started in year prep when I was 4, I think.
Alongside this, my grandmother Selina worked in the kitchen as a chef at Resurrection House to support their small family of 2.
Because I didn't speak any English, I used to learn English at school, obviously, but my mum also wanted me to keep up Polish, so we used to have Polish lessons at Resurrection House before normal school started. So we used to go every day, I think it was every day, and have Polish lessons.
In 1970, Selina met her husband-to-be when picking up Bezina at Polish school. Bezina and Selina then became a family of 4, including her new father John and her stepsister Danuta.
When I started high school, I went to a school in Essendon called Ave Maria College, which was a Catholic school. At the time, my parents had their own business. My dad was a tailor, and their business was called J&C Fashions, which was John and Selina. And so they used to have a shop front, and then just in the shop behind, they used to have a wall, and they used to have all their industrial machines where they used to make all their clothes. My mum and dad used to make all the clothes for the shop, and then we used to live behind the shop. And I used to have to work in the shop when they were there. Every Sunday I used to go with my dad to a market, and he would sell all the clothes, and that's how I made money. He used to pay me $25 for the day to go to the market and help him. My sister and I used to do that. If my mum hadn't moved to Australia, my life probably would have been very different. I lived in a really small town, not many opportunities. So I'm not too sure what my education would have been like. I probably doubt it where I probably would have finished high school because my mum didn't finish high school. I didn't know my father when I was young, so then, you know, I got a stepdad, which was awesome, who was fantastic. I would imagine I'd probably just be working in a local factory if there were factories in that area. I also doubt I would have gone to university. I'm pretty sure I probably wouldn't have. I wouldn't think I would have. I probably would have been poorer, as in money-wise, financially, than when my mum and dad moved. I mean, they weren't wealthy people, but, you know, they gave us everything that we wanted. And I imagine back in Poland during the communist years, you know, not many people had very much. So I would imagine we will probably have been in the same situation, trying to live pay packet to pay packet like my mum did.